Hi everyone, it's Shell from Scrap Secrets and welcome back to my channel. Today's day 11 in the 2022 Countdown to Christmas series, and we're going to be making 8 cards from 2 pieces of 6x6 pattern paper. This is a great way to use up your 6x6 pattern papers as well as make some cards pretty quickly. I did 8 in about 20 minutes. I chose 2 pieces of pattern paper from a Paper Studios as well as an old AC Moore pack. And then we're going to be using the stamp sets from Concord and Ninth called Merry Shapes, and then from Mama Elephant called Reindeer Games. I'm taking my 6x6 pattern paper, going to the back and marking off 1.5 inches on each side. So I start at the top left corner, go to the bottom left corner, and then the top right and bottom right. And then I'm taking my ruler and taking the bottom left, connecting it to the top right, and then the top left to the bottom right. I'll take it over to my paper trimmer after I do this to both pieces. And then you're going to have 4 pieces of like almost triangular shapes that we're going to put onto card bases. So I'm trying to reconstruct the paper just to see how it all goes back together so you can see what the pieces are going to look like. Now, my cards that I used craft cardstock for this one, and you're going to see that there are some pieces that you can't make all the cards go in the same direction. There's some pieces that are too long for it. So I've had to do some portrait and some landscape, but this doesn't bother me. If it bothers you, you can cut off the excess. You can cut it off at an angle. You can push it up a little further and cut the top off. Make it fit however you want, but I wanted to use the whole entire piece of 6x6 pattern paper. Now you're seeing how I put all of the pieces together. I laid them out first so that I knew where each piece was going, and then I was going to decide what stamp I wanted to put with it. So for the first one, because there's all words on there, I wanted there to be images. So I chose that Mama Elephant Reindeer Games stamp set. This one is a couple years old, and I've used it in previous videos for the previous year's Christmas videos. I love this set. I think Mama Elephant has some of the cutest animal stamps, and these reindeers are just absolutely adorable. So I chose a different one for each and every card, and I'm going to be stamping them out in My Favorite Things Latte Hybrid ink. So once I've figured out which ones I'm going to do, I wanted 2 of the dancing ones because that took up a lot of space, and then I wanted 2 that were jumping over. So I apologize, we are not going to stamp first. We are actually going to take Distress Oxide and Festive Berries and go around the edges of all the pattern papers. I thought there was a little bit too much contrast between the craft cardstock and the craft card base and the white in that pattern paper. I thought this would break it up a little bit so it wasn't so harsh of a white next to the craft cardstock. After I went through all 4 pieces, I'm going to take my HoneyBee precision glue and glue all of these pieces down back into place. And you'll see some of them I couldn't figure out which orientation they were going in, and I figure it out and then put the stamp with it. So I kept each stamp with the pattern paper in each card so that I knew what was going where, and I didn't have to figure that out again all over because I wouldn't be able to remember which one I did with which piece of pattern paper. I'm just gluing those all down. This came together super easy. And then the next thing we're going to do is stamp them. So I left some of this in so I could give you guys a little bit of story time. I've been away this week in Chicago. We had our national sales meeting, first one that I've ever been to since I started with the company 5.5 years ago. And it was a lot. It was long days and long nights. So the first night we had something to do until 10 o'clock at night. And then the Phillies game was on, so I went up to the bar and watched them win. And then the second night, we had something again until 10 o'clock at night. Oh, there were 2 very long nights and very early mornings. Oh, I am exhausted. I took off today, which is Friday, and I just kind of took it easy. I was off last week, and then I decided that I was going to take this Friday off because I knew that it would be a crazy week. So we worked a lot of hours. We sat in very crowded conference space. We had Damon John from Shark Tank come talk to us, which was awesome. He was a phenomenal speaker. We also had somebody that's a consultant for the company come in, and she did a fantastic job. And then we had a motivational speaker talk about human connection. So those I found were extremely interesting. We did learn, and then we had people from our company come in and explain some of the things that are happening and some of the new items and stuff that's going to happen over the next couple years. And they were talking about how tough next year is going to be, which really, they were trying to motivate us, but then telling us how tough next year is going to be. So we already had a tough year this year, so next year is supposed to be even worse or even tougher. It's going to be a very, very long year. They really didn't need to fly us out to Chicago to tell us that. I think we all knew that that's how it was going to be, but it was nice to see people that I've worked with for years and have never met in person. There was somebody that started on my old team with me. He started 3-something years ago, and this was the first time I've ever met him in person, and I talked to him almost every day. It was nice to finally get to see people again. It was good, but I'm very glad to be home. The cats were excited to see me. I think for the most part, Lucy really hasn't left my side. So if you hear things falling over in the background, she is on the desk knocking things over because I'm not paying attention to her. All right, so back to the card. I am now choosing a image from that Concord and 9th Mary shape stamp set. I thought I was going to do 2 with the ornament cutouts and then 2 solid ones, but I go ahead and decide to keep it all the ornaments. The color that I'm using is MFT's Gumdrop Green for inking that up, and I'm going to do that on every single one of the cards. Like I said, I thought that I was going to go and do, I wanted to do 2 green trees and 2 red trees, because if you see here, there's white, red, and green, and I thought it would look nice, and I started to do that for the 3rd card, and I realized that I hadn't wiped off the stamp good enough, and some of the green had already gotten onto it, so I just went ahead with the green. Always changing things on the fly. I had something in my mind of the way it was going to go, but always have to adjust. Always, nothing ever comes out the way that I have it in my head. For this version of the card, for these 4, I'm going to show you a couple different ways that you can do this. So you could completely stop here with just the tree and leave the ornaments white and not do anything extra to it. So if you wanted a really, really simple card and then just wanted to stamp a sentiment on the inside or write something on the inside, this would be a really, really quick and easy card. I think you could mass produce a bunch of these cards in a very, very short time. The longest part would be measuring out all of the 1.5 inches and cutting them. Other than that, it would be really, really simple to assemble, especially if you use pre-made card bases, which you could get at Michael's, Hobby Lobby. I'm sure you can get on Amazon. You can get everything on Amazon. But I'm also going to show you a couple different ways to step it up. So you could stop at any point as I'm going through these cards. And that's what I wanted to really talk about today, is that you don't have to continue to step up your card. I think the card looks really good just like that. But now we're going to add a sentiment from that same stamp set, and it says, "'Tis the season." I'm going to stamp it out in MFT Wild Cherry ink, and I do that on all 4 of them. You don't have to do that on every one of them. I just thought that it added a little bit of that red that I wanted to add, because I think the red and the green, I wanted kind of a little bit more of that red in the card design. So you'll see I'm stamping it out on all 4 cards. And then the next thing that we're going to do, there's a little piece in the set, and I don't know if it's meant to be a tree trunk, but I thought that it was perfect. It might actually be for the ornament on there, but I thought it was absolutely perfect to go as the tree trunk. Could be that's what it's for. I have no idea. So I'm going to use an MFT ink for that called Hot Fudge, and I'm going to stamp that down. I just put it on my block, and I'm going to stamp it on all 4 of them. Again, you could stop here and not do any more with the thing with the ornaments. However, what I chose to do was use the MFT Wild Cherry ink with the ornament stamp that comes with the set, and I'm going to go ahead and fill in all of the ornaments. You could fill them in different colors. I just did all mine in wild cherry. After I do those, I'm actually going to go ahead and step it up even further. Again, you could 100% stop at this stage of the game. I chose to do a little bit more, and I chose to do a couple of different options because I wanted to show you that even though I'm making them all similar, you don't have to make them the exact same. Oh, here you go. I stamped out that one entire tree. It took me a little bit to get into a rhythm of actually getting the whole entire white circle filled in. You really kind of have to get your head over top of it to look at that. But now I'm going in with a couple different things. First thing I'm going to do is go in with the Lawn Fawn glaze pen and go over all the circles. So this is going to give it a little bit of a dimension with some sparkle. Next, I'm going to go in with some Nouveau drops on the second card, and these are in Strawberry Coulis, and these ones dry translucent. I'm going to go over that. So that's going to give them a glossy look, but no sparkle. For the third card, I'm going to go in with my Spectrum Noir pen and the sparkle pen and go over all of the ornaments. So this will give it a little bit of sparkle, but no dimension. I could have gone over it with sparkle first and then put the Nouveau drops over top of it, use my glaze pen on this one, but again, there's a bunch of different things you can do. For the fourth one, I decided that I was not going to go ahead and add anything to the ornaments. I was just going to add kind of garland to the tree. So I picked out my white gel pen and added some garland along the entire tree. So that's the 4 cards that I did with that black pattern paper. And that one was from the paper pack called Very Merry Christmas, and that's from Hobby Lobby. So now we're going to go back to the reindeer cards, and I'm picking out a couple different colors of Prismacolor pencils. So the 2 browns that I'm going to use are called Sienna Brown and then Light Umber. The Light Umber is more of this brown that I'm using, and then the Sienna Brown is that little bit more of a reddish. For the nose, I'm going to go ahead and use the Scarlet, looks like it says Scarlet Lake. I'm trying to read the pencils off of the ones that are on my desk, but Lucy is trying to go after the pencils because she's thinking that I am playing with her. And then the one that I'm going to use for the antlers and the belly, the one that I had just put down, is called Beige. I'm going to use a different combination of those for every single reindeer. So you see the first one, I went in and I colored with the browner one, which is the Light Umber. Did pretty much the whole entire reindeer with that. And then the other one, I went in and did his like little muzzle area. Went in and put some dots on his cheeks. And then I'm going to put that one to the side. For the second one, I'm not going to color in the reindeer at all. I'm going to keep him a craft color. I'm going to color in the nose and his little tag, his antlers, and then the little hooves. Oh, I'm going to keep him all craft. So you really don't have to do much of these. Again, if you wanted to mass produce this one, this would be a simple but effective coloring strategy. So that's 2. So then 3, I'm going to go ahead and color in very, very lightly with that, I can't remember, the Light Umber colored pencil, and then do his muzzle even lighter. So I go in with a really, really light hand on the muzzle part, and then go in a little bit darker in the other sections and add the beige to the antlers. Again, switching up the color combinations. I didn't use that. I used 4 different colored pencils. You could do this with craft colored pencils, Crayola colored pencils. You could have your kids do this. You could stamp them out and have your kids color them. This would be so much fun and super, super easy to do with kids and mass produce. Now I'm going to go in with that Sienna Brown, go over that first, and then go over it with the Light Umber over top of it. to kind of give it a two-tone look. And then for the body, I actually do the opposite, which gives it a little bit of a different look, but you can definitely color layer with colored pencils as long as you don't press too hard. The Crayola pencils have more wax in them, so it's harder to go ahead and get color layering. But if you use something like Prismacolor or I think Spectrum Noir or any of the other, I can't remember what the other pencils are, the other good ones. I think they begin with a P. Polychromos. They don't have as much wax in the pencils, so you have an easier time layering. But if you don't go in with a heavy hand, you definitely can layer colors, even using Crayola. So there are the four ones that I went ahead and colored, so you could see the difference. And there are the 4 cards for the trees. So these were really quick and effective cards, super easy to mass produce. I hope that you guys are enjoying this video series. If you haven't headed over to the intro video, I will leave that link below in the description box. Make sure you check it out. There's a giveaway associated with this, and I'll see you again real soon for another video. Bye!